My fear when I hear young women say, I froze the biological clock, is that they think this is guaranteed. They think I put a baby on ice, not my eggs, and I'm just going to go and thaw it when I'm ready to become a mother.
Evelyn froze her eggs 3 times at ages 32, 36, and 38 for a total of 30 eggs, considered a very safe number.
So I was at work and got this message saying, we have your test results. And then boom, I get the report and I open it and
my fear when I hear young women say, I froze the biological clock, is that they think this is guaranteed. They think I put a baby on ice, not my eggs, and I'm just going to go and thaw it when I'm ready to become a mother. It's not that. That's the problem.
She points to stories like Evelyn Gosnell's. Evelyn froze her eggs 3 times at ages 32, 36, and 38 for a total of 30 eggs, considered a very safe number.
Did you have some level of comfort?
absolutely. Even my doctor was like, that's insane. Like, this is gonna be a breeze. Totally, no problem.
But when Evelyn and her now fiancé Edward went to use her 30 frozen eggs, only 19 survived the thaw, an unusually poor result. Even worse, once those 19 eggs were fertilized, only 1 grew to be an embryo. Anxiously hoping for positive results, they sent a few cells off for genetic testing to see if the embryo was viable.
So I was at work and got this message saying, we have your test results. Before we give them to you, just confirming if you want to know the sex.
Boy, girl.
I just started to think, oh, wow, they've asked me this. If I want to know the sex, it means that there's a real embryo there. It means that this is real, it's normal, it's going to be fine, it's all going to be good. And then, boom, I get the report and I open it and it's abnormal and it was a girl.
There was no chance the embryo could become a baby.
So honestly, that's got to be one of the saddest thing in life, where you want to be something that's so natural to women, to become a mom, that honestly, like, I feel terrible for her. And honestly, there's nothing much that you can say. As much as you want to have an argument and say, you know, people should have kids early and things like that, it's still a sad situation, and it still kind of hits home for people. Just think about the relationship you have with your mom, and hopefully it's a good one, but that's something that people want to experience. And unfortunately, you know, for whatever decisions, some of the decisions being those that they created in their own lives, has kind of led them here, it still kind of feels like painful to have to see someone go through that. And honestly, as someone who's worked in a facility, I worked in fertility for years, and I will tell you that I saw stories like that all the time. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm an anesthesia provider, I'm a CRNA, so I've been in private practice for going on like 9 years now. And fortunately for me, I had the privilege of working with different surgeons in different capacities, and one of the places I worked in years ago was fertility. And in fertility, I got to see the people and the decision that some people made throughout their lives, and it definitely changed my perspective on age and marriage and things that you should consider in a partner, especially from a male standpoint, and even just checking up on yourself as a man. And that's a very important thing as well. I think a lot of times people predominantly focus on the woman, which is very valid. Let's just have the conversation for as real as it is. Yes, the woman is very, and predominantly the majority of the responsibility is going to be on that, but men also do play a role. So as a man, you definitely should keep up on yourself, definitely do exercises, definitely work out, get your legs, do leg exercises, stay in as good health as possible, eat well. Going back to the ladies, what I did see was a lot of women who older in age trying to have a baby and struggling, and a lot of them had been on birth control. Now, I don't know what the research shows on this, never really needed to, it's not part of my job description as an anesthesia provider to go check to show what the research shows on birth control, but I am sure that a lot of these women were on birth control for a large percentage of their lives, and I'm sure that played a role, right? It just kind of makes sense. But what I would see is just that pain that they would get when, you know, we would try to implant, this is the 3rd time, and you know, we're trying the 2nd time, we're trying to extract, and they wouldn't, in those 4 or 5 hours I would work in a day, there were countless stories that definitely made me understand the importance of saying, hey, trying to find a partner early in life for women is so important, because the outcomes are very important if that's what you want, if you want to become a mom. Now, you know, a lot of times you'll meet people, right? And this is something that drives me crazy. So when you meet people who a little older in age, they never have kids, and then they want to tell you that, hey, oh, I didn't want to have kids at all. But you knew them when they were younger and they wanted wanted to. Issue I have with that is a lot of those same people go and poison the minds of the youth. All right, cool. You effed up your situation, but let us try to give better information to the people that are coming. If you're a lady that was, let's say, 36 and you struggled to have kids for whatever reason, and you tried later on in life, you didn't try early on in life. When you get on these podcasts or when you're mentoring younger women, it is not fair for you to tell them that they can do it at any age, because the stats show us something. As a guy, if a woman came to me and tried to get that advice, I would tell them what I've seen and tell them what the stats show. But I'm probably less likely to get through to them than another woman who's been there and said, hey, I've tried it this way, I struggled and I wasn't able to do it. I think you should take a different route. The problem I have with is I see this a lot, especially on the internet. Most women try to lie and say, oh, I never really wanted this. And to me, that's so hurtful to society, because once again, I always equate it to this. Something that I notice is when I see, especially male, that let's say they had a gang background and they just had a terrible youth and whatever. One thing that I notice the majority of the time is that they will say to the next generation, hey man, don't do this. I think men do that far more frequently than women. We try not to poison the next generation. Of course, there are some guys who will tell you continue to gangbang, but honestly, I couldn't even find a video for you showing that. Most men tend to take a different route. I think most women should take that route, but that's something that I don't know if we'll see that, because accountability sometimes is something difficult for people to face. And if they were to admit that, that they decided to make poor decisions, I think they somehow feel as if they would then be looked at as failure. No, I think you're better off teaching the next generation the things to do. I think you'll live a better life that way, that you had a positive impact on the world versus, telling people to do the wrong things. Another thing to understand that's so important is when people do get these retrievals, I think they have this mentality that, hey, it's guaranteed in the future. And it's so important that they touched on that. It's not, especially if you as a person doesn't work on the things that are going to be important. Let me say this. I think everyone should work out to some degree, right? I think everyone, of course, if you have illnesses and things like that prevent you from, that's not what we're talking about. But I think everyone who's capable should be able to work out, take care of themselves, eat a balanced diet. I think even more so women than men, in the sense that if you want this outcome, and especially as you age, because the importance of doing that is you buy yourself time. I think a lot of times people think that things are slam dunks, it's guaranteed. No, there's nothing guaranteed. And unfortunately, people aren't good about living with the consequences. If you make the choice to not prepare your body for something like this, of course it is sad to watch, but it is so important that people understand there are consequences to these decisions, and sometimes that is far worse than making the smaller sacrifice in the beginning. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, share with a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.